So initially when I get to a crime scene, I'll speak with whatever officer is there to get the rundown of what they are looking at, what they think might have happened, get a little bit of a tour of where they think any evidence might be, and then I'll start by taking overall photographs and work my way around the scene, and then look for any kind of evidence that might be pertinent to what we're looking at. If it's a burglary, for instance, I'll focus on the point of entry or anything they may have disturbed inside a residence or a business. And then if there's any kind of items that I can process for fingerprints or any kind of tool mark impression or footwear impression, those kinds of things that I can document. And then if there's anything that I can actually collect from the scene and process in the lab, then I'll do that.
We had a bank robbery, and it was really close. It was like about a block from the police department, and I was working that shift and responded. There was nothing good, like video-wise. They had a really antiquated video system, so we got one still shot of the individual, and the description of the individual was really odd. Had glasses on, had a wig on, so we didn't have any really good physical descriptors. But when that person entered the bank, there were people at the desk talking to the tellers, so they picked up a pamphlet and looked at the pamphlet while they waited for people to leave. Once people left, then they set that down and they robbed the bank. Well, I was able to collect the pamphlet and process it for fingerprints. We have a system, at that time it was called AFIS, A-F-I-S, Automated Fingerprint Identification System. Now it's got a different name, BIS, Biometric Identification System. But I was able to enter that in the system and search it, and we were able to come up with the identity of the person who robbed the bank. So that was kind of exciting. The way we work with fingerprints, even if we have made an identification, a second person has to verify. So I had to call in at that time my supervisor to come in, do the verification before we could notify anybody, and they had them picked up by the next morning. It's kind of neat when you have, a lot of times we are competing with the investigators. We're trying to solve it, they're trying to solve it in our own different ways. We want to beat them to it, but we don't always get it.
Yeah, and it's pretty exciting when you get a hit on a fingerprint. To be able to gather some evidence at a scene and have a fingerprint hit, get it verified, and then be able to, be the bearer of good news. It doesn't really matter what the crime was. It's exciting to get that hit and to make that match. What I'm trying to do is sand down the metal to the point where then I can use some mild acid to try and restore the serial number that was stamped on it when it was manufactured. I think it's a 38 special.
And when did you start working on this?
Yesterday.
Okay.
I worked on it for about an hour yesterday. It's been obliterated. They took some kind of, looks like maybe a drill or Dremel or some kind of something to try to obliterate those numbers so that it can't be traced. And so I am just trying to file it down so that I have a smooth surface to work with. Once I get it all filed down to where it's a smooth surface and shiny, then I can use this mild acid to try to raise the serial number back up because of the process that they used when they stamp it.
There's some tried and true things that have really stood the test of time, but DNA is a big thing that has changed so drastically over the years. I mean, it went from you needed, all you could get was a blood type from a sample of blood, on up to now. I think our lab reports come back and they're like fewer than 1 out of 100 octillion individuals would be expected to have this DNA profile. It's just amazing, the statistics on it now.
You know, people are familiar with like CSI and different, like, is it like the crime shows that you see on TV?
I always say nobody would watch a show about like Sioux City CSI because it's not as exciting most of the time. Like we get excited about fingerprint identification. That's not what they get excited about on TV. So yeah, it's pretty different.